A fellow traveler. He was from India and he was not Muslim. But we traveled together to cities of Bethlehem and Hebron. Do you get or do you interrogated more as being a Pakistani and as a Muslim? People normally ask me, how is the treatment of people there towards Muslim? Of course, people may have in mind, is it safe to go? Yes, for talking about Jerusalem. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shiraz and I am a Pakistani Muslim living here in Calgary, Canada. I have been fortunate and blessed to travel to the Holy Land, which is Palestine and particularly to Al-Aqsa 3 times in my life. And over a number of years when I've met other people, either through my hiking trips or through social gatherings, people have asked me some common questions, especially Muslims have asked me some very common questions. And today, this is Ramadan as well. And today I thought to answer some of those questions. First of all, let's start. Let's dig in right away. Why Palestine? Let's dig into this question. First of all, I would like to talk as a traveler who is not even a Muslim. When I went to Palestine, it was 2016. It was my first time, and of course, the reason why my first reason was that I prior to getting the Canadian citizenship, I had the Pakistani passport, and on Pakistani passport you can travel anywhere in the world except Israel. It is written on the passport itself. So of course, it was my wish that the first country I would travel to would be, of course, Palestine, occupied Palestine, you can say, after getting the Canadian passport. But as a traveler, so when I went in 2016, talking about if you're not even a Muslim, it's a holy land. It's the land of prophets. And as I was just telling you, when I went in 2016, I was living in a hostel there in Jerusalem. And I met a fellow traveler. He was from India and he was not Muslim. But we traveled together to cities of Bethlehem and Hebron and explored the rich history, the culture and traditions of the Holy Land together. So that was my first time in 2016. So again, why you should travel? I mean, as if you are an enthusiastic traveler, Palestine is the land of prophets. Prophet Abraham, Isaac, we call it Ibrahim, and Hazrat Ishaq alayhi salam, David, Hazrat Hazrat Daud alayhi salam, we call it, and then Prophet Muhammad, the journey of Miraj. Lots of prophets, Hazrat Yunus, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, the qabr or the maqam, rather, is of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam is there. Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam used to live there. So it's a land of prophets and it's the land of history. So if you are interested in just learning about the history, rich history of the world, so definitely Palestine is the place to go. Now, coming to the question of as a Muslim, why as a Muslim? Of course, it's first of all, as I explained to you, it's the Holy Land. It's the land of prophets. And for us as Muslims, Al-Aqsa is the third holiest mosque in Islam. And it was our first Qibla. So definitely, and it was the place where the journey of Miraj took place, as stated in Surah Bani Israel of the Holy Quran. And on top of that, there are a lot of points of interest for Muslims, especially when it comes to religious and Islamic tourism. I mentioned to you about so many prophets who came to the land and are buried in the land as well. So that is, of course, why I would go there. Those were some of the reason or why you should travel, inshallah, once this war which is going on, once it's settled down. It's the place to go. And if people ask me, sometimes people ask me, would you go there again? I say to them, I would go back in a heartbeat. Normally, as a traveler, as an enthusiastic traveler myself, who have been to 5 different continents and this is over 40 countries of the world, I don't usually travel to one country again, or multiple times, but Makkah, Medina, and Jerusalem is one of those exceptional places for sure. Now, the second most common question people ask, or especially now talking about Muslims, tell me about your experience at the immigration while entering Israel or occupied Palestine. Um, do you get or do you interrogated more as being a Pakistani and as a Muslim? So the answer to this simple answer to this question is yes, for sure. You do get interrogated if you are a Muslim, if you have a Muslim name. Um, 2 times out of 2 out of 3 times I've been there. I've been to the Holy Land. I've clearly seen Muslims being interrogated and kept aside, or have been asked to wait in the waiting area. So I've clearly seen that. But talking about my own personal experience, when I went in 2016, I went there as a solo traveler, just myself. I was young at the time, and so yeah, I went there. I was interrogated by 3 different officers, and the last interrogation lasted for about 45 minutes. And the lady was, I mean, she was not rude. She was just doing her job, and I answered her the way, I was supposed to answer. But she asked me everything you can imagine, things like, what do you do there in Canada? How much money you have in your bank account? Who do you talk to in Pakistan? Why did you travel? Because I did travel to all the Middle Eastern countries, not just prior to the trip to Israel, but before that to Syria, Jordan, Egypt. So she did ask me all those questions about those Middle Eastern countries. Why did you travel there? When did you travel? Who did you travel with? What did you do there? Why did you go there? So you should be prepared to answer any questions related to your traveling, anything related to your life, I would say. And but more importantly, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't have to worry about anything. I mean, they are just doing their job, of course. I would say there is level of scrutiny, I should say, when it comes to different travelers or your background, when it comes to especially being a Muslim. But as long as you don't have to, or you don't have anything to hide, you just have to answer them, as truthful as you can. Okay. So yeah, that was my first time when I went to Palestine. The second time, it was last year. By the way, I went to Palestine 2 times last year. Alhamdulillah, I was blessed to travel one in March when I took my mother, my sister, and my aunt and uncle joined me from UK. And then we went together as a family, myself, my wife, and our daughter in at the end of September and October, just before the war started. When we went in March, they gave the visa to my mother right away, but they asked me and my sister to wait, and we were waited for about two. We waited for about 2 hours. The guy called me and just asked me some basic questions. There were already a lot of travelers there, another big group. So he was in a rush already anyway. So yeah, it wasn't that bad, but we still had to wait 2 hours. In September, when we went, we crossed it through Jordan, land border crossing. Our immigration was really smooth, wasn't even asked a single question. But again, there in terms of entering and or going to Jerusalem, we had to wait about 3 hours in the really hot weather there to wait for the taxi and go to Jerusalem from the border. So yeah, that was the immigration part I touched upon. Now, people have Muslims have confusion. The other question I get is, how do you enter Palestine? They don't have a clear idea of what is Israel and what is Palestine. So let me just dig into this question. So when you enter, when you're coming from, there are different ways of entering, of course, or mainly two ways, I would say. First of all, by air, where you land in Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion Airport, or by land. And through land, basically, there are different ways you can enter through Egypt, Jordan. I believe there are two more border crossings as well. So yeah, but mainly two ways of entering. So once you, let's say, if you're coming from by air, and that's what I would recommend. Our experience entering into Palestine has been more pleasant by land, rather than the land border crossing. Not talking about in terms of immigration itself, but the overall experience. I would recommend, if you're going, you can go through Tel Aviv airport. So if once you land or once you enter Tel Aviv, so you can get a or shared taxi, they call it, and that can take you, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in a matter of 45 minutes to an hour. It's a small country, so it would not take that long. Yeah, so once Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other cities mainly are controlled by Israel. Okay, so when once you enter Jerusalem, Israel controls Jerusalem. Jerusalem is divided into east and west. In the eastern part is where Palestinians live mostly, and western part is where Jewish live. And the old city of Jerusalem is divided into four quarters: Muslim quarter, Christian quarter, Armenian quarter, and of course Jewish quarter. Now, so basically, the control of Jerusalem and some of the other major cities like Tel Aviv, Haifa, etc., is under the control of Israel. However, if you go to West Bank, for example, cities like Ramallah, Nablus, Jenin, etc., and why it's called West Bank? It is west of the Jordan River. So cities like Ramallah and Nablus are the proper pure Palestinian cities under the Palestinian control. Similarly, Bethlehem is one of the cities where a lot of Palestinian lives, both Muslims and Christian Palestinians. Hebron is another divided city where the shrines of Prophet Isaac, Ishaq alayhi salam, and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and others are there as well. So it is mainly controlled. So it is the occupied land, which we call it, right? It is under the control of Israel. However, when you go to Al-Aqsa, the administrative control of Al-Aqsa itself is under the control of what we call it WAFC, which was established by Jordan. They are the Jordan assigned people, or you can say police. Whenever you enter, they want to make sure that you are Muslim, because for non-Muslims, if you want to go and visit Al-Aqsa, there is particular set times of the day when you can only go, but Muslims can go anytime. And you can go, of course, because they go there for prayers. But they want to make sure that you are Muslim, so they normally ask you to pray Fatiha, or they just ask you if you are Muslim or not. Okay, so that was the question where people ask, how do you enter Palestine? And one of the other most asked questions I've been asked is about the treatment of people there. People normally ask me, how is the treatment of people there towards Muslims? Okay, so talking about once you are in Jerusalem, so Jerusalem is a city that receives a lot of tourists normally on a talking about in normal conditions. Of course, I saw when I was there, I saw big groups of Christians come there because there is, of course, Holy Sepulchre churches, their holy site there, and Church of Nativity in the city of Bethlehem. And of course, Muslims come from all over the world. Talking about in general, and I want to give an unbiased view of my interaction there in Jerusalem. A lot of businesses in Jerusalem are owned by Palestinians, and Palestinians talking to Palestinians, they are really friendly, kind, and nice people. Yeah, they want to talk about their life and want to encourage you and other Muslims to come more and more to Al-Aqsa and Palestine. But about my when it comes to my interaction with Jewish, they don't really talk to you that much. They just go to their places of worship, for example, Wailing Wall, do their business and mind their own business mainly. I had interaction with, for example, we have, coming whenever you come back to Jerusalem from cities like Ramallah or Nablus, back to Jerusalem, there are always checkpoints there. So going through the checkpoints, Israeli soldiers, they keep a strict um, stature, I would say. I mean, they don't smile at you or anything, and this is something that's not only observed by myself but by other travelers whose videos I've watched who have crossed borders into Israel from Egypt or other countries. So that's my view. But overall, as I said, that in Jerusalem, businesses are owned by Palestinians. When you go to cities like, of course, Ramallah and Nablus, they are more lively cities and they are more cheaper as well than Jerusalem. For example, the shawarma I had in the city of Ramallah was almost half the price than what I had in Jerusalem, and more tastier there as well because they are proper, pure, Palestinian. One of the important questions, of course, people may have in mind is it safe to go? Yes, for talking about Jerusalem itself, it's a very safe city. As I just explained to you, a lot of tourists come there or go there with big tour groups. In normal conditions, it's a very safe city and it's a very spiritual city as well, with a lot to see only in that city. So yeah, Jerusalem, I would definitely recommend that you don't have to worry about anything. If you are in Jerusalem, it's a very safe city, and you will feel that once you are there, and with lots of points of interest. Last question I would address is what is there for a normal traveler to see? Of course, talking about as a traveler yourself, of course, once you are in Jerusalem, I talked to you about four quarters of the old town. So, I mean, you can spend a day just exploring the old town, the four quarters of the old town, where you can explore and go to, of course, Al-Aqsa, Church of Holy Sepulchre. And if you're Muslim, inside the compound of Al-Aqsa, there are so many other mosques and points of interest. And as for Muslims, where you can go, for example, the mosque of Hazrat Umar bin Farooq. There are some the Dome of the Rock itself. You can go and spend time there. The architecture there is just beautiful. You can go to Al-Aqsa Qadim. You can go to Masjid Al-Marwani. So there are lots of points of interest. And if you go or come out of the old city, a little bit out of the old city, there's that city of David there, where you can go, the shrine of Prophet David there. There is one point, I believe, of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam as well, where he used to his kursi of Sulaiman, I call it. Outside of Jerusalem, you can go to, of course, the city of Hebron, where you will find the shrines of Prophet Isaac, Hazrat Ishaq, Hazrat Ibrahim, alayhi salam, and their wives, Hazrat Yusuf, alayhi salam, there as well in the basement, as well as in the Bethlehem, the city of Bethlehem, the Church of Nativity there. It's an interesting city to see. And again, you can go to West Bank, to the cities of Ramallah and Nablus, which are very lively cities, and see a little bit of a different perspective when it comes to Palestinian lives. So that was the video about Palestine. Definitely, if you have any more questions, you can. I would encourage you to ask me in comment section, and I would be happy to answer those questions for you. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're subscribed as well, and do share this video with others so others can benefit as well. Thank you. Huda.